The corporations have not yet won.
Community still exists in small tucked-away areas not often talked about.
Artists and businesses beginning to thrive in places thought to be defeated.
Dave, I like to call him David Francis.
And I, Tom Maslowski,
are here to give you a glimpse of what's going down in downtown J-Town.
We're going to be interviewing all of our favorite musicians,
artists, and business owners
that give every ounce of themselves into what they do.
And we are back at Third City Sound with Mr. David J. Francis at the helm.
Hi.
What's up, Dave?
Hi, Tom.
I feel like we were just here yesterday.
Probably because we were.
We were.
Working on a new secret project.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting. I was glad to play some upright bass on it last night.
I was glad to have you play some upright bass on it last night.
It's been a while, actually.
Mm-hmm.
We have a very special episode today. We're going to be talking about the man behind a lot of cool things that happen around here, actually. One of them being Shindig at the Shanty. We have Mr. Tim Placher and Dr. Mark. What's going on, guys?
How you doing, guys?
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
So, Tim, you said you had something planned for this.
Yes.
Your Life in 5 Riffs. Is this correct?
Well, I saw a thing online recently where Jason Isbell, who's one of my favorite current guys, was talking about his sort of musical history. And he sort of broke it down into several riffs that he had found important to him when he was a kid and as he got older that helped propel his musical experience to higher levels of performance and sort of exposure to other genres and things like that. And I found it really interesting. So got me thinking about some of the stuff from my own past that got me going as a piano player, especially because that's what I took piano lessons when I was a kid.
Sure.
So,
do you have something planned for us then?
I do. Well, I wrote down a list of some things that were sort of like key riffs to me when I was a kid. I lived in a musical household. My dad was a trumpeter in the United States Marine Corps band. My mom was a singer, but nobody played piano in my house. And so we had a neighbor who was a piano teacher, and so I was forced to take piano lessons when I was a kid.
How old?
I started at 7, and I went every week. I practiced a little. I got better just through the repetition of it, but I really didn't have my heart in it that much. My neighbor, Mrs. Carlson, knew it every week when I showed up for my lesson.
Sure.
But when I got a little bit older and started listening to the radio, it was a good time because there was a lot of piano-driven music at the time. And so I started listening to the radio, started sitting down at the piano and started trying to figure things out on my own. And probably the first real riff that I sort of learned that really taught me something was Elton John's Crocodile Rock.
Sure.
It was the time of Elton John. I was about, 11, 12 years old. And I listened to it. I put it on a cassette tape, put it on top of the piano, and started playing it over and over, trying to figure it out. And I did. And here's that riff from Crocodile Rock.
All right, now what's riff number 2?
Well, the thing about that riff is that's the first riff that really taught me. I think I learned that before anybody even showed me how to play Heart and Soul.
The bass line and everything, the 2 hands, right?
Yeah, but like the chord progression. And so it was one of those things where that chord progression, it was sort of my first realization that there's a lot of songs that have that same chord progression.
Sure.
And so that helped me out a lot. Another one that came along a few years later was when Billy Joel hit the scene. And his first big album was The Stranger, and his first big hit off that was Just the Way You Are. But the one that was really piano-driven that I sat down and tried to figure out was this one. From Moving Out.
Moving Out.
So, another one, it's just like there was so much piano-driven music. Elton John, Billy Joel. The Beatles had tons of riffs too. One that used to drive my mom crazy. She would make me stop playing it because it took me so long to figure it out. And when I did, I played it over and over. Was from Lady Madonna. It's the guy who played it a while.
Yeah.
Let's see. At the end it goes. And I'd
cool stuff.
Yeah, I'd play that riff over and over till I got it. And I just remember one time she took the living room door, yelled at me, and slammed it on me.
I think every young musician has that experience with their parents, especially if you're a drummer. It's got to be hell on the parents. And violin, I have to say, too, has got to be just like torture.
That's true. And we didn't have any other musical instruments in my house other than the piano. I never got a guitar at all. I never really even played one until I was in college. I don't think I ever picked one up. One of the things about sort of my musical youth is I went to the Cathedral of St. Raymond, and we had an unbelievable singing program at St. Ray's. Giant choir. There were like 80 boys in the choir. The girls had a separate choir. Sometimes we performed together, but generally we performed separately. So everybody I went to school with was comfortable singing, but I didn't know anybody who played an instrument. And so I tended to toil away in the obscurity of my living room at my piano trying to figure things out, but I didn't collaborate with a lot of people, at the time. So...
And I'm assuming then you got into some of your own writing, like composing of your own tunes then? Because I heard you play one during the sound check. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I kind of mean to put you on the spot.
That's okay. It's one of those things that I would love nothing more than to be a fantastic songwriter.
I liked the song you just played. I feel like I'm not going to let this go until you kind of play the original. Because the show is supposed to traditionally start with a song.
I'll play some. So I'll tell you just a little bit of the background. Is obviously like the more I learned to play, the more I wanted to create instead of just playing other people's stuff.
Absolutely.
And I found that the things that I created tend to strike me as being trite and completely derivative of something else and not entirely original. And so I wasn't super keen on them all the time. And as I've gotten older, I've found I'm a pretty good judge of like other people's songwriting ability, and I'm still not so happy with my own. But
we'll judge you if you want.
I've written at least I've written at least a couple that I can tolerate, and so this is one I wrote a long time ago. I was about 25 years old.
Oh wow!
And until I played it for you during the sound check, I don't think I've ever played it for anybody.
Oh really? I love exclusive stuff on the show. That's the best.
So it doesn't even have a title, but here's how it goes. Let's sit around and talk about the days we'll never know. And talk about this love of ours that never got to grow. The door that opens up your heart I thought was close to me. I guess I was too blind to see. I always held the key. It hurts me now to realize I never played to win. I never gave it my best shot. I let you run to him. But now it doesn't matter if there's angels on my side. 'Cause 13 prayers to God above will change the word goodbye. I told myself tomorrow is the day I'll put it straight. But now tomorrow's yesterday, and yesterday's too late. And as the days of life slip by, one thought will cling to me. Why did I let that girl fade into memory? Well, thanks. There's another half of it, but
You're like, I'm not.
we don't need 5.5 minutes of my 25-year-old song.
I thought it was cool, and I want to know who the girl was.
The girl, her name was Kelly, and she was from Wilmington, Dave, down your way.
Oh, I know Kelly from Wilmington.
And yeah, I knew her in school when I was in college, and she ended up marrying a guy, and they moved to Missouri, where they still live happily ever after.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
You found a good woman anyways, is that right?
I did, yeah. Yeah. My wife Patty's from Joliet, yeah.
And now you said you went to St. Ray's. You currently, where do you teach now?
I teach, it's on the far west side of Joliet. It's Droughton Point Middle School, which is
Okay.
a Plainfield school, but we're in Joliet, so I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Choir mostly, some other classes too, but mostly choir.
And then how did you get into deciding? So, you said you never really got to collaborate with people. You didn't much jam with people when you were growing up. What got you to the point to where you're holding all these enormous shows with tons of musicians, whether it be at the Shanty or downstairs at Chicago Street? You did the Buddy Holly night. Now you're doing the Traveling Wilburys night. How did all of that really get going? Because I did play the Shanty one time with
Pat Lyons.
it was Pat Lyons and Tony Tabor. I don't know if
Right.
we'd say it was Safe House or Safe Haven.
Safe Haven, yeah.
But,
Yeah, it was.
it was some formation of that whole thing. So how did you get involved with all that stuff?
Well, there's sort of a timeline, but I mean, I did play out of the house, but I was heavily involved in church music. And what happened was, because I was in this great choir at St. Ray's, and I sang in the choir with a bunch of my buddies all through high school. We didn't really sing in the high school choir because it wasn't that great when we were in high school, but
Sure.
we kept singing at the church. And then because I had some keyboard ability, the director of the choir, he had a heart attack, and they needed somebody to fill in. I was only 19 years old, so
Whoa.
I sort of got drafted for it. I didn't really know how to work that giant organ at St. Ray's, and I still don't, for anybody who goes to church there who hears me play once in a while. But I got thrown into it, and I just started doing it, and I did it for a few years, and it was a pretty lucrative side job. It was on the weekends. You got paid pretty well. You didn't have to play in a bar and work till 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Didn't have to haul your stuff around all the time. And so it really turned into a 20-year sort of side job for me, where
Wow.
I ended up directing church choirs and playing weddings and funerals and stuff.
Wow.
And so I did play out, and I did all kinds of stuff, but I never really played the music that I listened to for my own enjoyment,
Sure.
except in my living room. And so over time, I got, some level of adept at doing it, but I still didn't take it out much. And there's one particular moment that I can point to that sort of like changed my attitude and propelled me to like decide I need to do something about this. I was writing a column for the Daily Southtown newspaper for a number of years, and they were doing a 50th anniversary of Buddy Holly's plane crash at the Surf Ballroom in Clear Lake, Iowa, which is where he played his last concert before the plane crash that killed him. And I was intrigued by the story. When I first got a guitar in my 20s, the first songs I learned were Buddy Holly songs because they're 3 chords
Yeah.
and they're easy to play
Yes.
and they're catchy.
Yeah.
Right. And so I sort of I kind of fell into the Buddy Holly story. I was intrigued by it. And they were doing this big show in Iowa put on by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I emailed the Rock and Roll Hall and I asked them if I could have a press pass. I did not think that they would say yes, they said, sure.
Wow.
And so I went to Iowa and I picked up my all access pass.
How did you just say that you were a teacher or something, or how did you?
No, because I was writing a column in the newspaper for about
wow.
10 years. I wrote in the Herald News, but predominantly in the Daily Southtown on the south suburbs, right?
Very cool.
And so I did. It wasn't totally made up, but I really just wanted the pass so I could get access. And so when I got there, I had access to the rehearsals and everything. And I met the violinist who was sort of running the string section for the whole production. And she was kind of at this rehearsal, and I just talked to her, and I'd seen her play, and I said, you're fantastic, you know. And so she said, well, what do you play? And I said, I play the piano. And there was a piano on the stage. So when this thing broke up, she said, well, do you want to play some music? And I said, well, sure. So we sat down, and we played together for about 10 minutes. And she's like, you're really quick at picking things up. And I said, well, I'm good at hearing things and being able to play them from figuring things out my whole life. And she said, well, you know, who do you play with? And I made a joke. And I said, well, I have a standing gig in my living room. And she's like, haha, you know, but no, really, do you have a band or something? And I said, no, seriously, I don't really play out. And she yelled at me. I had just met her. And she scolded me and said, well, that's just ridiculous. You need to do something about this. And so the next summer, we have the summer party that you mentioned, the Shindig at the Shanty, August 4th, this coming summer. And I decided I was going to start to play at the party, just myself. So I hauled my keyboard down.
Wait a minute. How old is this party? How long has this party been going on?
It'll be in its 13th year this year.
Oh, wow.
So the first couple of years, it was just, you know, we just play music, you know, over canned music.
So I'm sorry, you just started playing music with people only 13 years ago?
I went to Iowa when I was 47.
Holy cow, man.
So I made it that long without really collaborating on popular music. I did tons of church music and school music, but yeah, never with other people until then.
So then you owe her a beer or something for getting you out in public then.
Well, and the beauty is, so then the next year, she and I kept in contact, and she comes to the Shindig now every other year.
Oh, that's great.
And this is the year she's coming back this year. So her name's Christina Seaborn. She's a fantastic fiddler. She tours around the world. She's based in Minnesota, but she's played with the Moody Blues and some other popular acts through the years. And in fact, she was at this event because she was running the string section for this guy named Bobby V, who was the guy who replaced Buddy Holly on stage the night after he got killed.
That's insane.
Wow.
That's not a good gig, right? Like, oh, boy.
And he just passed away recently, and she was at his funeral and played for his funeral. And
Wow.
like guys like Brian Setzer were there at the funeral.
Come
you know, some
on.
guitar gods were there. Yeah.
That's insane. That's intense.
Who knew this guy? So I played at the party by myself for the first year, and then the next year Christina came, and that was great.
Wow.
We just jammed the whole night.
Yeah.
And then the next year decided, well, we should up the ante a little bit, and then we got a band, and we got Michael Heaton's band to come down. And so now he'll be in his 6th Shindig this year, and we just kept adding, and the last couple of years it's turned into this sort of small music festival, which is just a blast.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you have a lot of our good friends playing there, and collaborations, and all these cool, interesting things to do. And you know,
I had the
think
honor
it's
last
nice.
summer.
Dave, you know, I gotta say, what channel are you on, buddy? Because I can't hear you at all.
4. How's this?
We're experimenting with new.
Well, I turned my mic pre down while Tim was playing. I was sneezing.
And I had
stuff.
turned you down, so like you were like this faint little guy in the background. I'm like, is Dave talking now?
Do I sound
Did you
better
turn
now?
your mic down or your headphones down while I was singing?
No, the mic. Well, I turned the headphones down and the speakers up because I wanted to hear it through the speakers in here.
Speak on. Speaking of
But-
speak.
Anyway, so
were you
yeah,
gonna say?
I got to play at the shanty this past summer,
Yes,
and
I did with the
I
big
had
line, yep.
and I had to help run the sound, and I had a blast. And looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, it's turned into this really nice thing. The last couple of years, we've had more than 300 people, and we have the taco truck, and this year we had a donut truck.
That was the donuts.
But
were
the
really
beauty to me is that this year the musicians who came down, everybody stayed. They played their sets, and everybody stayed pretty much the duration, which tells me that to the musicians it feels like fun and not work.
good. Well, the last band has 20 members, so it's. Well, yeah, everybody did stick around. Yeah.
It's been great for my own music, though, because once I started hiring like really talented people, I decided I need to up my own game, right?
You need to
And
up the ante
I've
at the
put
shanty.
together a nice assembly every year of people, and we do a whole new set list of songs every year and work them up, and I plug different people in for what I need, and it works out great.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. I know the time that I was there, I kind of had to eat and run. I think I had another gig that night, so I didn't even get a chance to really stick around.
Well, and that was the second year we had Mike Heaton's band, and then I saw Pat play downstairs in Chicago Street Pub, and I walked up to him at the set break, and I said, people must say this to you all the time, but you're fantastic. You should play at my party. And I said, but you are fantastic, and you should play at my party.
Yeah.
And so we worked it out. And so he really was the first person.
Pat Lyons.
Yeah, when you came with him that year, that was the first time we added a second musical act.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Because didn't Ted Slowick played that year also, right?
Yeah, well, and Ted's been a longtime friend. I met him when I was writing for the newspaper, and I was working at City Hall, actually, as a lawyer, and he was covering City Hall. That's where I met Ted.
Oh, wow.
And so the first time we met, we talked about, political stuff at City Hall.
Sure.
Things going on, but then within, a short time,
10 minutes probably.
we were talking about music.
Yeah.
And
So by the way,
I had no idea, that Ted was a musician, that he'd been a longtime bass player in a blues band, and so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so did Ted bring you into Chicago Street then, or have you been coming here for years being a lawyer and all?
Because I worked downtown, I was in here a lot, and
Sure.
so I met Triz and I met John Condren when I was a lawyer, but most people who knew me down here had no idea that I played an instrument or that I sang or did any of that.
Oh, wow.
In fact, I played my grade school buddy, Ted Hamill. He's a local lawyer. He got married and I played his wedding, and it was full of lawyers from Will County. And people are like, I didn't know you played. I'm like, yeah, well, that's really my main thing.
That's what I do all day. So
Right. That's what I do when I get home from every other job I've ever had.
Yeah, right. Now, so the Traveling Wilburys thing, you have the Buddy Holly show you guys did was a complete success. It was a packed house.
Oh,
Everyone raved about it, had a great time. The musicians enjoyed playing. What is the story for the Traveling Wilburys? Because I know you have all kinds of ins and outs for this one.
Well, the story for this one is that the Holly show was more just the Shindig was so fun the previous year, a couple summers ago, that I didn't want to wait a whole year to do another, put together something like that. And so I decided to do the Buddy Holly thing, and I was totally into the music. So, it hit my wheelhouse of interest, and I knew the songs were easy, and I get people involved, and we'd be able to work it up pretty easily. And so I was able to get a nice lineup of people that I met hanging out at the pub more, Brian Motil, and, I saw him play, and Pat Lyons was available, which was awesome because I needed a guitar player for Buddy Holly songs, a really good guitar player.
Yeah.
And so it just turned out great. And that was so much fun. And then the Shindig was great last year. And so I'm like, this will just be the halfway to Shindig project, I hope, every year.
That'd be a good tradition.
And I was thinking about doing Elton John, but it was Mike Trisna, who actually said, what, the Wilburys would be great because you could do artists from, the band and then do the individual artists. So we've got a lineup of songs that are probably 6 or 7 from the Traveling Wilburys, and then 4 or 5 songs from each of the individual artists, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, Jeff Lynne from ELO, and
George Harrison.
Yeah. So
now, I don't know. I thought it was really interesting doing all this too because, a lot of times we see the same local musicians at Chicago Street and we all love it and everything. But, the audience, excuse me, might be getting a little bit burnt out on seeing the same songs or seeing the same people or whatever. And I think this is a great way for these musicians to stay active and stay in front of people, but do something totally different. It has nothing to do with their usual shtick. And I think it also brings out how good these musicians are to be able to play somebody else's music and, not be self-conscious about it or anything like that. You get to see how well they can play these songs and what they're really capable of. And to see all these musicians working together in one band, like under this one umbrella, I think is a really great idea.
Well, and it hits my wheelhouse of what I really like to do, which is I like to put stuff together, plan them, see them to fruition, and then have it be a great success, hopefully, and then move on and do something different.
Sure, yeah.
And so it's like it's a one-off project. I love the whole aspect of it. We learn a whole bunch of songs. We put together the right people, the right harmonies, the right instrumentalists, and then we do it. We have fun, and then we have this nice, great memory, and then let's think of something else fun to do.
Yeah, keep it rolling. And speaking of fun things to do, I've been seeing you play a lot with River Horse lately.
Yeah,
I think it fits great.
it's fun for me. Yeah, I mean, those guys, they're all young in their 20s, and they look at me as some sort of grand old man, and they mistakenly think that I'm some sort of older, wise musician. But if they want to think that's fine, because it's fun for me to play with them.
Yeah, right. Like whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Now, how many songs? Did you put any tracks on their new upcoming album?
I came in about a month ago into the studio here, and I recorded on a couple. So I haven't heard the final mixes. So
yeah, I think
I'm looking forward to it.
Dave is mastering them right now.
Yeah,
Dave.
Tim and I both played on one song.
That's right. Yeah.
I played some trumpet on it.
Oh yeah.
And then Tim had a different song. I think I played trumpet on 2 songs. And then I'm currently mastering the album. Yes.
I can't wait to hear it, man.
Will be done very, very soon.
I really like River Horse. They have some good tunes.
Well, and how I met Brian, I came down for an open mic one night. I had not met him. I hadn't seen him perform. And so he got up and he played, I think it was a Thursday night. And I went out to talk to him on the sidewalk after, just to tell him that I liked what he did because it was different.
Yeah.
It was unique. And so then I was looking to put people together for my buddy Holly show. So this is a year ago in the fall. And I said, I'm doing this thing, and, would you be interested in being in it? And he said, can I do the song Dearest, which is a really obscure Buddy Holly song. I knew it, and I couldn't believe this young guy knew it.
Yeah, that's Brian, man. He digs into the deep stuff,
Yeah, and so he was really the first person to say yes to that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always really enthusiastic. He's a really nice guy. He's always very encouraging, and I really like the energy that he brings to the pub. I think it's kind
super fan of our show too.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. He's always.
I'll get a text half an hour after we're done, like, "Hey, man, good."
Or
episode.
He also gives criticisms, which I appreciate, because then I know it's not just like the pat on the back syndrome. Right. He actually is listening and cares about what's happening and has good ideas, like what we should do later. As a matter of fact, we've dropped the ball about 34 times. We're supposed to have the weird question of the week with Brian Motel.
Yeah.
Well, we have failed on that. What day is the Traveling Wilburys show?
The Traveling Wilburys show is Friday, February 2nd, and we're going to start a little after 8 o'clock, and we have 30 songs that we've worked up with a great lineup of people, including John Condren, Allison Flood, J. Ross Green, whose songs are fantastic.
He is the best. I'm sorry, everybody. He's the best.
Fiddler Supreme, Ann Hatfield Martin is taking part.
Nice.
Which is great. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, and I met Ann. These connections have come about over time, but when I was playing at church, I did a wedding at St. Joe's Church, downtown Joliet, years and years ago, and Ann and her sister Mary played violin for that wedding when I think they were still teenagers. And so ever since then, I wanted to do something with her musically, but it's taken me a really long time. But
well, yeah, I mean, they're out of their minds good. I mean, it's like, okay, you are a professional musician. That's insane. Like, they're always consistent. They're always on the money. They're always in good moods. It's a joy to watch them play for sure.
It is. And so she came to practice the other night. It's the first time I've ever played with her outside of that wedding. That's probably, it's 25 years ago.
Holy cow. Time goes too fast, man.
Well, it was great fun for me. I waited a long time, but I'm making the most of it lately.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. I feel like I think we're all trying to step up our game a little bit and put out some good stuff.
It's intimidating to be down there in the pub with the quality of talent down there. The open mic nights, I don't know how anybody walks in and just gets up there.
I feel the same way, man. I need a few beers to get up there. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I just go up and wing it.
Wing it, yeah. And Dave doesn't care at all. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, half of it's me is going like, I don't know what to play.
I think my favorite Dave songs are when he does Pearl Jam as if he was the Swedish chef. That's kind of my favorite thing.
I might do a whole album of that. We'll see.
And let's see, we've got...
And those are the chimes signaling the end of the interview portion of our interview.
I figured it was a good spot. It kind of sounded like you were wrapping it up anyway.
It was wrapping up, man.
I wanted to squeeze one thing in.
Let me finish who I've got coming so that everybody gets a shout out.
Yeah, exactly. Got to give some credit.
Shout out everybody. I wanted to shout out Ann for playing on the Old Gang Orchestra record.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've got Nikki Giblin, who's a fantastic singer.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And she needs a speech from that violinist because she doesn't play out enough either.
She doesn't. Like, I had no idea that she and her sister were so talented until
amazing.
I started looking on YouTube. Yeah. We've got Chloe Breezy, who is she's the front person and lead singer for No Escape, the teenagers band.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
They are great.
Chloe's only 18 years old, and she's fantastic. Ted Slowick's helping us out.
Ted?
My singing partner for the last couple of years, Robin Castle, who just has a angelic, beautiful singing voice. She's a former coworker of mine who we got together and started singing together about 2 years ago, and it's just been great. Stacy Sanko, who's another local singer, who she was on like one of those Ed McMahon Star Search kind of shows years ago, and she made it deep into the show.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And she's from Wisconsin, but she came to Joliet, moved in down here a few years ago, and I saw her sing at a funeral. And after the funeral, the whole time during the funeral, I'm like, I got to meet her.
Real nice, Tim.
I swear to God, it's after a funeral, and I go up, I'm like, you don't know me, and I don't know you, but I have this big party, and you should come and sing at it. And she did.
Shameless.
She did last
Hell
summer.
at a funeral. I like it.
And then, Tom, you're going to help us out with a couple of songs.
Absolutely.
And Dave's going to help us out with a couple of songs, too. And then my buddy, Dr. Mark, who's here with us, is going to help us out.
Speaking of which, do you guys have a song
Ellis?
together?
We do. We have a Wilburys song for you.
I was going to say, did you mention Ellis? Because he's my crush.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot
Like,
Ellis.
I'm not going to do this without him, so he needs to be
No,
mentioned.
well, I'm looking at my flyer, and somehow I just realized that I forgot to put Ellis's name on it. But yeah, Ellis, the nicest guy in town and a fantastic sax player, is helping us out. Yeah.
Who just made the transition into becoming a full-time musician, man.
Did he?
He just went all in.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good for all of us because then, he can play a lot more often.
Well,
I don't know how that's possible being 7 days a week for that guy, but
Well, and he's one of those guys I've really enjoyed. And Dave's a guy too, right? Over the last year and a half, as I've watched people gig so much more and get so much better,
yeah.
It's great to see. I just love watching other people's
I've grown
musical.
leaps. He's grown leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome to play with. And we did get to work together on the John Conjuring album. It's been great working with all these musicians in this area. And I'm looking forward to what the two of you have here. Is there a name? What is this song now?
This song is called "If You Belong to Me," and it's from the Traveling Wilburys' first album. And it was written by Dylan, and it's a kind of a fun song, but this is kind of a stripped-down version, and this is the version that I heard. Interestingly enough, this is the last song that George Harrison ever performed for an audience. He was on some show on MTV with Carson Daly, and he was being interviewed. He didn't have a guitar, and of course, somebody just happened to have a guitar, and they asked him to play. And so this was the very last song he played, and he died shortly thereafter.
Whoa.
So,
What's the name of it again? I'm sorry?
If You Belong
If
to
You
Me.
Belong to Me, right.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Mark Christensen from New Lenox. Mark's an old buddy of mine that we met across a tennis net on a tennis court when we were freshmen in high school, when we were 14. And we have been longtime friends ever since that meeting. And just a couple of years ago, he asked if he could play a song down at the Shindig. And I said to him, "Do you play?" And he's like, "Not yet." And I'm like, "What are you going to play?" And he said, "The guitar." And I've come to realize that he is a doctor by trade, but he is a closet musician who really wants to be an artist more than he wants to be a doctor.
And now he's going to shred that harmonica, is that right?
He's going to play some harmonica for us.
And now he was very silent this whole episode, but I did get pictures, man. You're in the episode. It's official now.
My joke about Mark is that Elvis had his own private physician.
Yeah.
And so my productions have their own private physician, except ours doesn't give us prescriptions for pills. He gives us harmonica fills.
Harmonica fills. Not pill fills.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, and 1, 2, ready, and... Waltzing round the room tonight, someone else's clothes. Your holly's coming out of things, smelling like a rose. You hang your head, your heart is filled with so much misery. You'd be happy as you could be if you belonged to me. You say, let's go to the rodeo and see some cowboy fall. Sometimes it seems to me you've got no sympathy at all. You keep on talking on and on about how you're so free. You'd be happy as you could be if you belonged to me. It ain't easy to get to you. There must be some kind of way. If only two could look to you for one moment of each day. You're saying that you're all washed up, got nothing else to give. Seems to me you never figured out how long you've got to live. You could feel like a baby again sitting on your daddy's knee. Oh, how happy you would be if you belonged to me. There's a ruthless pimp, well, everybody knows every cent he takes from you goes straight up his nose. You look so sad, you're going mad, any fool can see. Well, you'd be happy as you could be if you belonged to me. You'd be happy as you could be if you belonged to me. You'd be happy as you could be if you belonged to me.
Very nice.
Thanks.
I don't play guitar, but watch this. I'm going to play this whole song and sing it at the same time and give cues and turn around.
I'm a completely mediocre guitar player.
Well, not completely, man. I couldn't even blink my eyes and play guitar at the same time. You guys, thank you very much for coming out and doing this on a Saturday afternoon, which is a rare recording day for us. Usually the studio is pretty booked up on Saturdays, but all the albums are winding down.
So yeah, we got the album hangover going on right now.
We got a lot of album hangover going on. As a matter of, there's a lot of good music coming out in 2018, folks. John Condren and the Old Gang Orchestra is putting out an album. River Horse is putting out an album. I think Big Line, has got some stuff in the works.
We've started some preliminary pre-production on it.
And Colonel Chloroform has got a couple recording dates booked.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to embark on my first solo album ever.
The demo we were working on last night, I don't know if we said who it was. That's coming out.
Yeah, we can't disclose that.
I'm working with Charlie Champagne on his next album.
It's going to be a big year. And then we have a lot of shows coming up already. There is, you guys missed Righteous Hillbillies last night, but there is the Traveling Wilburys show. There is the Rialto Square Theater is having, they're hosting John Condren and the Old Gang Orchestra, which I play electric bass in, with Don Nudie, John Condren, obviously, and Ellis Wright. And then River Horse is also putting out their album the same night. We're going to have a dual album release party.
Dropping the deuce.
It's going to be a great time. And we're trying to get some other little things to happen during that show, too. I'd really like for Elder Brewing and Migraine Brewing to be part of that whole thing somehow also. And then, guys, please make it out for, I'm sorry, what was the date again? February 4th.
February 2nd is
February
the Wilbury show.
2nd.
So, yeah, it's Friday night.
It's going to be a great time. There's a lot of heavy-hitting musicians coming out. Everyone's been practicing and working hard on these songs. It's going to be a great night.
Yeah, and also, I want to also do my part to tout the Condren and River Horse show. It's going to be the first Rialto show for local music that's on a weekend.
Yeah, Friday night.
Right, and both those guys, they're taking part in the Wilburys show, and, they've got this really big gig for them coming up, so I really appreciate their help.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's two, February 4th is my brother's birthday, so I think that always kind of rings up in my head when you say February something.
Does he want to be in the Wilbury show too?
Yeah.
Everybody else is.
He's a great singer. No, he's not. Sorry, Carl. You're not a good singer, man.
But that Rialto show, these Rialto shows, people always talk about, they ought to do this, they ought to do that in downtown Joliet. Well, somebody's doing something about it. And so local people who get to listen to this, I'm going to be there. You should be there.
Please
Yeah,
come out. It's
absolutely.
going to be a great time. And if you need to buy tickets, Ticketmaster is a little pricey. It's convenient, though. Also, tickets are being sold for $20 from any band member and is Chicago Street Pub. You can just walk on in, give them $20 cash, and you're set to go.
Get your ticket.
Get your ticket.
Give them money. Get the ticket.
And check out
There
our
you
album. We've I'm really proud of this album. I guess I don't talk enough about it. I don't want to make the show about me, but we're all very proud of this album, and we're really excited to share it with you guys.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah, I hope so. And we hope that this Traveling Wilburys show is kind of a good primer to get everyone excited about coming out to see some music. And, you know, it's a really great community. There's a lot of great people to hang out with and talk to. It's always been a great time, and the past 10 years have been great. Great. And we hope to keep that momentum going. Dave?
1 week from tonight, the Big Line Yep starts our Saturday night residency at the pub every Saturday in February, and Fat Tuesday.
Yeah, that's going to be something to see,
Come
man.
to one or all of them.
9-piece, 4 horns. Dude,
New
it's
songs. We've been working on new songs for it. It's gonna be
great stuff. So, Dave, thanks with all your busyness, keeping this going and helping us out do this show. Thanks, Bill Aldrich, for letting us use the studio in between all his madness working here. And thank you guys for making some time to come out on Saturday at noon. I'm trying not to burp here. I just had some coffee. And I want to thank the Trisnas, Mike and Kathy, for allowing us to do all this goofy stuff week
I like
after
to
week.
call her Kathy Trisna.
Yep. And, you know,
Catherine. It's supposed to be Catherine.
my own thanks to Triz, too, because when I told him I want to do that Buddy Holly show last year, in my first project, I had never done anything at the pub, and he just said, run with it.
And it was a smash success.
Yeah.
People are still talking about
He's
that
good
night.
for that. He is so good for that.
Well, folks, we have just given you the entire rundown of what's going down in downtown J-Town.
I heard it on the radio. Ooh, I heard it on the radio. Ooh, I heard it on the radio. Ooh, I heard